Well, the traveling speed of that tornado was probably about 35 to 40 miles an hour going on the ground. But the internal winds, they said when it come down Coldwater Road, there was a ball of fire inside of it. Just a big ball of fire right in the middle of it as it came down the road.
They say it doesn't really sound like a train.
Plastic for you?
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Up all the 1953 truck.
There's the last baby we found right there. Little Diane Shreve. Diane Shreve, yep.
And
Nick, I'm coming out.
The younger baby was 6 months
There?
old, right?
Hello?
Yep.
I mean, that passed.
6 months
She's
old
that baby
baby.
that found.
You hear me?
Look at this old Model T.
That baby worth some money. Big time, buddy. I got all the aerial photos of that too. I was right on the perimeter of it, right on the edge. This is a special edition put out by the Flint Journal.
Any other photos?
They printed this July the 1st. No, it belongs to this lady right here. I got one just like it.
Look at that. That's houses. They're just gone. Yeah, these are just my dad's truck.
Can you go from page 1, just do a little overview?
Oh yeah.
Start right there, and I'll record this.
Yeah, this is the front page right here. That starts it. And this is the picture of all the volunteers and the fire department. This is my father, and this is me, and I think this is my brother.
That's you in the picture?
Yep. And they were on the Beecher Fire Department on Lewis Avenue. And here's the path of the tornado looking eastward. This is Coldwater Road. That's Coldwater Road, and this is Kurtz Avenue. And that tornado, here's Detroit Street, and that tornado went right through here and churned up everything in its path. There was not a building left.
Just completely wiped it out.
There was gigantic oak trees that were 3 and 4 foot in diameter that were lined that road right there, and they were turned to splinters.
Can I write down your name and number, sir?
And my name is Terry Hoover.
E-R-R-Y?
Right.
Hoover?
Hoover. Hoover.
The Gatikas were my relatives.
Oh, really?
Passed away, yeah.
And here's a picture of the cars that were wrapped around trees. And 686
What do we see in here?
8167.
People trapped in the
That's a car. Rescuers seek victims in a home basement
Thank you, Terry.
into which a car was pitched. The car was pitched into that basement. A friend of mine lived across the street from the high school, and he had a fire in his basement. And that was the only light that you could see in that whole area. His name was Fred Schmidt. And when I come over top the hill by Wally's, and I looked and seen the silhouette of Beecher High School, it looked like a ghost town. It looked like something that, like it had been bombed out.
Is that the same tower that's down
That's
the street?
that right. And here's the fire department right here. That's Beecher Fire. It's still there. But see, when that tornado went down through here, it also took these buildings in here.
You were 15
I was just turned 50. Yep. Oh God, yeah. Yeah, I sure do. That's what's left of a 2-story house. There's Beecher High School.
Did the houses have basements, or were they mainly on slabs?
Most of them were on slabs. There was very few houses that had
We
basements.
didn't have a chance.
No, absolutely not. Now, Fred Schmidt's house, this is Coldwater Road here. Fred Schmidt's house was right here. He had a basement, and he had natural gas in there, and the natural gas had ignited. So the basement was on fire. The debris was burning in the basement. And if you would take and put your hands over both eyes, that's what you saw when you went over into the Beecher district. Looked like somebody had control of a big master switch and turned the master switch off. There was no light. The only thing you could rely on was the flicker of a lightning bolt.
How old were you then?
I was 15. I had just turned 15.
Okay. So did you actually see the actual tornado itself?
Pardon?
Did you actually see the actual tornado itself?
Oh yeah, I saw it forming and everything. Yeah, I saw it. I saw it coming out of the cloud.
Wow.
Right when it first started coming out. Yeah.
And you knew what was happening as soon as you seen
I
it?
called it a cyclone. My friends laughed at me. They made fun of me.
Okay.
They scoffed at me because I was 15 and one was 16 and the other was 17, and they said you don't know what a cyclone is.
Okay.
So I just passed it off and let them believe it, you know.
So the school got strapped.
And that's they had just passed a 40 mil bond proposal to put an addition on Beecher High School. And listen to this, the ironic thing is, in that gymnasium right there would have been the commencement exercises that night.
Oh yeah. What
But the reason why it wasn't, because the principal of Beecher, Theodore J. Buell, and his brother, who was principal at Kersley, they decided that they was going to have their commencement exercise a week ahead of time.
Okay.
So otherwise, this gymnasium would have been probably filled up with another 1,800 people.
So actually, otherwise, Beecher has been rebuilt then.
Oh yeah, the whole thing. That's Bray Road. That's where they took all the debris. They loaded up in the dump trucks, hauled it up Coldwater Road. This was a gravel pit, and they backfilled it in the gravel pit.
So that's the actual gym. That's up at Beecher. That's the actual gym from 1950 when it was rebuilt then.
IB went through
What was
this
the day
side,
of the tornado?
June 8th on a Monday evening at
went through this side, and where's the other?
8:30.
Come out the other
6
side.
years ago today.
What time?
8:30 in the
All the way
evening.
through
8:30 in the evening.
8:30 in the
So it
evening.
was just like no, I guess like this now. Maybe a little bit lighter or
It's
not.
8:40
I'll be outside.
right now, just like that right
It
now.
was just like that.
Yep.
Okay. Now,
That's my parents right there.
oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh okay.
Claude Morey. Claude Morey.
What was the story talking about? What was mentioned about him?
Now, the youngest child that died in the tornado, I think I heard was 6 months. I heard.
Yeah, that's her right. That was her. The Shreve baby,
Right here.
6 months old. They had just. I was there on Verdun Street when they picked up the roof of this garage. They picked it up, and we were looking under the roofs, you know, and that.
Okay.
And they had a guy with a backhoe. He come up underneath it, picked it up. We were up underneath it looking, and he said, "You see anything? Do you see anything?" "No, we don't see anything." And the guy said, and there was a bunch of garter snakes running around. Okay. And this guy said, "Did you see anything?" And I said, "There's just a doll up in there." And he said, "Raise that back up." And when they raised it back up, the guy crawled up underneath it. It was that baby.
That baby.
Yep.
You got a picture of the baby? That baby?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
The baby survived then.
No,
Oh,
it
it passed.
did.
It passed.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Look at that.
It was a car. Wow.
Yep. The motor's missing. Yep. Ripped it right out. It was horrible. It was the most grotesque thing I ever seen there in my life.
My dad watched it from downtown Flint.
Did he?
He was some of the people that were lost.
boy.
To get gas stations.
This is the. I stepped on a spike and ran it right up through my foot. A 16 penny spike. And there's the armory where they took all the bodies and laid them out. We loaded bodies. As soon as the coroner would pronounce them dead, we'd load them in the back of pickup trucks.
Is that where it touched down?
That's where it touched down, right there.
So that's basically
There's
Coldwater and
Coldwater and Linden.
over in that area.
Linden Road, Coldwater Road.
Across Clio.
Yep. Come right down here across Jennings Road, across Clyde Road, and right on up through there.
Which way is north?
That way.
So the top of the page
Yep.
north. So it's heading from west to east.
Yep. Going from direct route.
So then it gets out into Lapeer County, skips a while.
It skipped over here.
And takes off again.
Yep. Took off again. By Columbiaville. There's the Shreve baby right there. Diane Shreve.
I wonder if she's still in the community.
She died. She's dead. Yeah. Yeah. Quite a story. And her dad was on the fire department with my father. Yeah.
Now, which baby was
That's the Shree baby. That's the one they found under the garage roof.
okay, but she didn't live.
No, she
Okay,
was dead.
Okay.
It was 3 days later when they found her.
How was she? 6 months? That's one of the 6 months?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. It was a lot of kids perishing. I didn't know it was
That's
that
what I
many.
thought too. There was a lot of young people.
Yeah, I was listening. I realized there was that many young people in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot. 200 miles.
There's the Beecher Lumber Company. This is before the tornado hit.
Okay.
That's after it hit. That right there. That
Right
right there.
Look at that.
It's gone.
Yep.
It was going 200 miles.
Yep. Yeah, it was horrible. It was really, really horrible, I tell you.
Wow.
There's no other way to describe it.
Yeah.
It looks like a train. No, it's a
Yeah.
camper.
It's somebody got a camper trailer to live in until they.
Up until I think 2011, this was the most deadly in the
It was.
Yeah,
Yep.
well, and now I think the one in Joplin passed it, right? Am I correct?
somewhere in the
Yeah,
south.
yeah.
Here's a good one right here.
I have that whole.
Losing the temper saves his life. You got to read this story.
What,
give it
give
to
me an
me.
overview.
Okay, I'm gonna give you an overview. Dog's anxiety gives a storm warning. Chris Miller lives on Coldwater Road, or they got the veterinarian clinic. He lived at 4015 East Coldwater Road, lost his temper, and saved his life a few moments before the tornado struck the Chris E. Miller farm at 5331 North Jennings Road. Okay, the farm lay directly in the path of the twister as it started its mad rampage across Genesee and Lapeer counties. Miller was milking his last cow in the large barn, unaware that the storm brewing outside. He was irked when the family's pet dog came into the barn and made the cows restless. He was more than just irked when the dog's yapping caused the cow he was milking to kick him. He scooped up the dog, opened the back door of the barn, and was about to toss the dog into the yard when he looked up. Sweeping across the open fields towards him was the tornado, looking like the black smoke that used to belch up from the Buick smokestacks years ago. Miller shouted to his hired hand, Luther Morris, at 2382 West Coldwater Road, and they ran from the barn. Morris ran to his car, parked on Jennings Road. The car was struck by large timber before he could drive away, but Morris was uninjured in the blow. It was not until sometime later that Morris learned his wife Florence and son Vern Roy, 25, were killed at home. Mrs. Morris had planned to accompany her husband to the Miller farm, but changed her mind at the last minute. Miller ran across the street into the ditch. He saw the twister coming on and decided to run at right angles to the path. He almost made it when the fringe of the whirling wind threw him to the ground in an alfalfa field. Listen to this now. In the roaring darkness of the storm, Miller said he was bounced up and down on the ground as he clutched at the alfalfa in the field. Just kept jerking him up. When you were a kid, did you ever lie close to the railroad tracks as a freight train went by and feel the earth shake? Asked Mr. Miller. It was something like that, only many, many times worse. After the storm passed, Miller looked at the barn he had just left. The first thing that struck him was that the silo was gone. The silo had reared 50 feet into the air. It was made of concrete blocks wrapped with steel cables and had weighed 60 tons. Inside, he had 5 tons of silage. The storm had sheared it off 10 feet above the ground.
6 tons.
Yep, the center of the barn where Miller and Morris had been was demolished. The top half was gone completely. The large beam had forced the cattle in the stalls to their knees. All the cattle were on their knees. Miller's first thought was for his 3 children at home about a half-mile north. Mrs. Miller and Miller's mother had gone to town. When Miller started to run up the street to his home, he realized the storm had stripped off both his Oxfords and he was in his stocking feet. When he got home, he found the 3 children had been watching the storm and the house was undamaged. His eldest daughter, 11 years old, said she had been standing in the front window and commented, "Daddy, it was the funniest thing. The grass on the window kept beating in and out, the glass." Miller said when the tornado was new, it was made up of a main core or funnel with a number of fingers swirling in and out. And then down here it says here, although many of the thoroughbred Hereford cattle have skinned knees, none were killed. When it was all over and the family was home, Miller said to his wife, "I'm tired of ham. Give that piece we have left in the icebox to the dog. He deserves it."
Dog served his life.
The dog saved his life.
Don't
The dog
go.
saved his life.
I wanted to talk to you. Hi. You talked about
Fred, go ahead.
what we call them.
Yeah, Fred.
When I was on down, he needed kitty corners.
Really?
It's
Yeah.
old.
Yeah, I need a family.
Really close.
Yeah, did you go to his funeral?
No,
Did you
no,
go to the viewing?
no. Too much. I picked up Carol Quinn. I picked up so many other people that I went to school with. I just, I wanted to remember him as I remember him. That was it.
Well, we went to see the viewing.
Did you?
Yeah, and his mother came over and talked to us, but I wanted to tell him
Now, this is, does it actually sound like a
he
train?
had straw.
Does it sound like a train?
Oh, yeah.
But that's what I hear all the time. I read it.
And I felt so bad for the mother.
Oh, absolutely. This is the parking lot that they had at the Turnstead plant. In the parking lot, that's where they parked all the damaged cars. That was one parking lot. The other one was right at the end of the Beecher's baseball game.
Oh, okay.
So you said you had pictures and stuff back then?
Oh, yeah.
Look, if you think about it in the near future, let me know and we'll come out and we can maybe go through the interviews and stuff. I want to make a nice document. Very good. Can I get a quick shot of that?
Afterward,
Afterward,
yeah,
okay.
July 1st. This is a special edition.
This, okay.
Of just the tornadoes.
Yeah, this is something
Okay.
As you narrate, I'm caping.
Somebody said that the Journal reprinted this a couple of
they
years
did.
ago.
They did.
What, the whole thing?
Yep. Yep.
I didn't see that. I would have kept it.
That's what
That's
she was
Dwight,
talking about.
Dwight Eisenhower
yeah.
flying over the Beecher School.
But the white up there now? That was him?
That
the
was
white right here?
that was the president of the United
Okay.
States.
Okay.
This is the back of the gymnasium.
Okay.
Looking at the high school. This is looking into our gymnasium.
Oh, okay.
Can you flip that and see what the front cover looks like? So this is a special edition.
It was a special edition. Flint Journal, June the 8th, 1953. This was published July the 1st.
I've seen that picture there before. I've seen that a lot of places.
Did you see in here? I went along as he was saying that there's all the
Oh, yeah,
deaths
all
and
the
their
deaths, right.
address and their age.
Yep.
Oh, okay.